All right, folks, we're done with that story. So let's take on our next story in this edition. You know, I am ever enamored of the postulations of Otto von Bismarck, the first German chancellor. The late German statesman famously described politics as the art of the possible. Now, supporters of Senator Obi-Kwankwaso are rooting for an Obi-Kwankwaso alliance to rescue Nigeria from insecurity and economic hardship. Speaking on behalf of the Kwankwasiya movement on Friday in Kano, Abba Sadauki Gwale said the proposal reflected the desire of the group. He added that the alliance could come under any official platform. Of a truth, politics is the art of the next best, won't you say?
Yeah.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Well, I think that proposal came from the Kwankwaso group. It was not the one speaking, but, you know, the leader of the campaign group. And, well, we've not heard from the Obi camp.
Okay, regarding this.
But let us work on the suggestion that we are going to have Kwankwaso and Obi alignment. The first question is, in what way is that, in what format would that alignment be presented? Is it that Obi will be the presidential candidate and then Kwankwaso the vice presidential candidate? Is it that Kwankwaso will be the presidential candidate and then Obi the vice presidential candidate?
Wale, I hope you are not begging the question, because as we sit here, we know that maybe it is not an agreed arrangement. The 8-year turn-by-turn thing favors the South to produce.
So
it is likely you are looking at Obi Kwankwaso.
Yes, but I'm just trying to, you know, look at both sides, you know.
All right.
So if we have Obi Kwankwaso alignment, what is likely going to be the strength of the two? Kwankwaso is very formidable, especially in Kano. However,
and by extension, Obi is formidable in the southeast. Yeah.
The last election, Kwankwaso got 6.4%. He scored 1,496,000, you know. And Obi had 6,101,000. Overall. Now, there is a problem with both candidates. In terms of practical politics now, Kwankwaso's strength at that time was dependent on, you know, presenting the candidate for Lagos, for Kano State, and also his own personal charismatic influence. But for now, there is a division within the Kwankwaso's camp. We now have a situation where one of his brides, that is the current governor of Kano State, is no longer in NNPP. So the Kwankwaso's strength, the Kwankwaso's political force, will have to wrestle with the force
that is the Kwankwasiya.
Yes, you have to wrestle with the current governor of the state, combining his strength with Ganduje. Don't forget that in Kano's election in 2023, the APC had 500,000 votes, more than 500,000 votes. Though Kwankwaso, the NNPP won. Okay. But the APC was not a pushover. You know? So I think Kwankwaso had about 970,000 then, followed by APC, then followed by Atiku. So in this case, why you have somebody who's an authority in a Kano State, who is the governor of the state, combining his strength with Ganduje, it is not likely that Kwankwaso will be able to record the same number of votes or something close to that in Kano. It's going to be a battle.
Yeah.
And I think Kwankwaso's influence may sprinkle into some states, but it is only in Kwano State that it has that its strength is a watershed.
Okay.
So when you remove Kwano, that is going to be a battleground among formidable forces, the APC, and then when you go to Southeast, with what's going on in Southeast, what's going on in Rivers State, what is going on in Enugu State, what is going on in Anambra State, even in Obi State. The question is, will Obi still be able to control that magnetic hold, grip on the entire Southeast? So between 2023 and now, there has been a lot of dynamics.
Okay.
So even if the two of them combine together, I think it may not be enough to be a greater force, but it may not be great enough to upset, the APC from power.
All right. Well, let's find out. BKO, political mathematics may be a challenge for our brother here, but I'm wondering how you weigh in. Are you there?
Yes, I can hear you now. I think all the candidates, all the big politicians are weighing their options. If Atiku Abubakar picks the nomination form with the desire to contest the presidential primaries of ADC, Peter Obi will leave the ADC to go and contest on another platform because he knows that he is not going to defeat an Atiku in a presidential primary election. He cannot, he does not have the political weight, the popularity within the political party and the structures countrywide within that party to defeat a tested serial contestant like Atiku Abubakar. So he will have to leave the ADC to contest elsewhere. And it could be NMPP if Kwankwaso agrees to be his running mate.
Yeah.
Atiku supporters will not tolerate him becoming anybody's running mate. He's not going to get their support because to them that will amount to diminishing himself after being presidential candidate in the last election and doing well in that election. So he knows that, but he's still keeping his cards to himself. And the possibility of working with Kwankwaso is there. That is, if Kwankwaso will agree to let him be the presidential candidate on that ticket. So Atiku knows that if he contests the primaries of the ADC, he will not be entitled to contest the primaries anywhere else based on the amendment to the Electoral Act.
Yeah.
You cannot do two primaries. So he knows what that means, and he will not want to disqualify himself by default. So once he sees that Atiku Abubakar will not step down for him, or Atiku Abubakar is going to contest the primaries, he knows what to do. So he's just hanging in the ADC. That won't be his permanent, his final decision. It all depends. So they are talking to one another. Kwankwaso is still weighing his options. He feels very bad with what has happened to him. He has suffered a big setback with the governor going to the APC, but he still retains tremendous support within Kano and a little bit of support in Jigawa as well. So all he's trying to do is to see whether he can pool resources with Peter Obi and see what they can achieve with that. So Obi's options are open. Well, Obi continues to say that he's going to be presidential candidate is not going to be vice presidential candidate. It is Obi or nothing to his supporters. And I think that is the way he too is thinking. He does not want to be running mate to anyone. If he agrees to be running mate to anyone, it will look like he has committed political suicide. And a lot of the young people who backed him, they will not be prepared to back him when he is going to be running mate to some of the oppressors that they've been talking about. So it is clear to Obi that he has to be running mate. So perhaps he will go back to Labour Party or do a deal with Kwankwaso. If the courts retain the faction of Labour Party led by Nenadi Usman, which has the governor of Abia, then he could go back there because that would be a good place for him to go. But anything outside of that, if the leadership returns to Abure, he knows that he's not going to get a look in. So he can then be thinking of other parties. So this is basically how Peter Obi is weighing things.
Thank you, BKO. You know, this is not Wale. This is not brushing aside the fact that 2 new political parties have been registered by INEC.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, there's a live broadcast going on at Abuja. So, but journalists hang out.